Pluto and that's it. I have to tell you, you're going to love this. I've just set up a chart for the moment it stopped. And at the exact moment that the recording stopped, Uranus, the planet of electricity, computers, and sudden change, was rising exactly on the ascendant where I am. You can't make it up.
You
Astrology
can't make this stuff up.
Astrology in action. So
I'm not sure how it's all going to come together at this point, but we are here. So I wanted to move on to the Ceres and Chiron, two modern day archetypes that reveal how nourishment, care, and the wisdom born of wounding shape our understanding of well-being today. So first, let's talk about Ceres, the asteroid goddess of nourishment, fertility, and the sustaining cycles of nature. Ceres is a Roman name for Demeter, the mother of Persephone, and the Persephone myth mirrors Ceres' astrological symbolism, how nurturing and grief are intertwined, and how life renews itself through the cycle of letting go and regeneration. So how do you work with Ceres in the astrological chart, Steve?
when planets are discovered, the names that they're given then become archetypes in the world. When Uranus was discovered, it was the time of the American and French Revolution, so it became a planet of revolution. When Neptune was discovered, it was the time of the first commercial brewing, the development of celluloid, the first narcotics, the first hypnotism. So it became the planet of spirituality. When Pluto was discovered, it was the time of the development of psychology, the splitting of the atom, the first quantum. So it became the planet of transformation and regeneration. And when Chiron was discovered in 1977, before 1977, who'd heard of aromatherapy, astrology, homeopathy, acupuncture? Post 1977, these are common buzzwords. So as a planet gets discovered, so its archetypes come into the consciousness. Ceres was discovered in 1800, but the ephemeris for Ceres, the timetable of the planetary movements of Ceres, only became into the public domain in the early 1990s. So I've only been putting Ceres in horoscopes for 25, 30 years. I'm very familiar with the myth of Ceres and Demeter, Persephone, the whole Greek pantheon, let alone the abduction or rescue, depending which version you read, of Persephone by Pluto. To me, yes, Ceres has all these wonderful things, especially with Demeter with the sheaf of wheat across her chest, the goddess of the grain. And from Ceres, we get the word cereals. But to me, the key word for Ceres is very much nurturing. The way we were nurtured as children or not, the way we nurture other people by caring for them, particularly with food, the way we let others nurture us, who do we trust to nurture us, and particularly the way we nurture ourselves through digestion, nutrition, and diet. And it is truly astonishing, KG. I'm at a loss to explain it scientifically. But if I were to pull out from the thousands and thousands of charts I have from clients I've dealt with over the last 40 years, if I pulled out 200 charts of people with Ceres conjunct or opposite the sun or the moon, I can guarantee you that 40 to 50% of them at least are going to be sensitive, intolerant, or even allergic to processed wheat. Many of them will be allergic to gluten, celiacs, and yet Ceres is the goddess of the grain. Most of them are just allergic to wheat. They're not allergic to rice or barley or rye or oats, which contain gluten, and they're not even allergic to spelt, unprocessed wheat. But 40 years ago, the agrochemical farming industry decided to add a lot of protein to the wheat genome. And the wheat that is growing in our fields now is so heavily proteined up that you put it, many people put it in their bellies and it sits there for weeks because it can't be digested and they bloat. And these are the people with strong Ceres in their charts. So I find that I'm of the opinion that much of the illness of today's world, whether it be from people on the spectrum to people with digestive disorders and everything in between, is down to processed foods. That's my opinion. I can't back it up scientifically, but it is my opinion. And I consider,
I have a whole foods diet, have
yes,
for some time, because I was starting to have issues.
mm,
And I just went to a whole, completely whole foods
yes, me too.
diet. And it's made a world of difference.
I eat
My health.
fruit, vegetables, salad all the time. I've been vegetarian nearly 50 years by choice, and it works for me. And I think that Ceres is very much around nutrition, nurturing, digestion, and stuff to do with processed wheat and processed foods. But it also deals with the nurturing we did or did not receive as a child and the food we were fed in the first 7 years of life. Because in today's world, it's so easy for parents just to say, oh, I'll just phone up a delivery service, give them some pot noodles or something, as opposed to spending half an hour cooking vegetables and rice and potatoes. And there's a set question there about our priorities. Do we want screen time or do we want to nurture our children?
And we briefly talked about this right before we started recording the show, about the valuing of the humanity and our physical being, our, how we really don't value what we have, what a treasure our body is, and that we're creative beings. So I think that that needs to be valued.
Very much so. Very much so. Nurturing our soul. And then you talk about Chiron. When you explore the deep mythology of Chiron, how he was born of an illicit liaison between his father, Zeus, and one of the naiads, Philia, and she didn't want to be impregnated by Zeus, so she turned herself into a horse. But he came upon her as a stallion. So Zeus was conceived in horse form. So when he was born half human, half horse, a centaur. But unlike all the other centaurs, which had a horse body and a human torso, Chiron had a horse back body and a human torso, but human front legs of the horse, unlike the other centaurs. And when Chiron, well, the myth of Chiron, wound 1, he was conceived by his father and his father just galloped away. Never saw him again. No father. Wound 2, from the moment of his birth, his mother looked at him and went, oh, I've given birth to that. Ugh! Pushed him into a coracle downstream. Never saw his mother again. Wound 3, Chiron was picked up by the handmaidens of Apollo, and Apollo taught him everything. Warfare, archery, herbalism, politics, economics, but he taught him human skills. He didn't teach him about his animal side. So his animal side was neglected. As Chiron aged, he became a teacher of so many of the Greek heroes. Asclepius, Hercules, all of them, Jason. And there was a fight at a wedding. And Chiron was mortally wounded by one of his own poison arrows in his heel. But Chiron was immortal, he couldn't die. but he was fatally wounded. So he spent hundreds of years traveling around the world looking for different cures, couldn't find them. And he realized in the end that the only way he could even come to terms with it was to find a balance in himself where he could live with his wound. In the end, Prometheus stole the fire of the gods from Zeus, gave it to humanity, and Zeus punished him by chaining him to a rock. And Chiron said, look, you're my nephew. I'm permanently dying anyway. You got a life. Let's swap places. So Zeus in the end cast Chiron out of compassion into the stars. But when I see Chiron at the physical level, when Chiron is very strong with the sun or moon, often these people have really weak ankles. And I say to them, if you're going walking, climbing, running, off-road, you need to wear high ankle, thick protective footwear. Because if you screw your body, the ankles will go first. But Chiron, when it comes to the non-physical, is much more difficult than Ceres. Ceres deals with nurturing, but Chiron, it doesn't deal with neglect, isolation, or even rejection. Chiron deals with abandonment, being abandoned. And that's a real tearjerker for most people. When you're not wanted, you're cast off, you're not loved, you're abandoned, you're on your own, unsupported. So when I see people with a difficult Chiron, I have to give them a difficult message. And that is that no matter what you do, you're never going to get it right. You're never going to be good enough, and you're never going to succeed. 98% is good enough. Because if you had 100%, you'd have wings. And it's not about being successful. It's about being on the road. You're not being asked to be successful. You're being asked to do your best. And the only person who can tell you what your best is you. You are judge, jury, and executioner. And when you say to people with strong Chiron that no one else can judge them, if anyone else judges them, they just turn around and say, look, I'm doing my best. And if you don't like it, there's the door. They become more integrated and assimilated and self-acceptant. The idea of 98% is good enough, especially when you're down here in human form. That really helps them become a lot more comfortable in their own skin. It's not only being abandoned by mummy or daddy. It's about being abandoned by your own hopes, by your own self-acceptance. And that's where you have to lead them back into the light and give them a chance to feel good about themselves again. And then they become more integrated and assimilated. So Chiron is very much around wounding and healing, the emotional, the mental, the psychological, as much, if not more, than the physical. It's a killer. It really is. And when you figure that Chiron is only the size of, say, Connecticut, and it's sort of 1 billion miles away, yet it has this tremendous effect upon us. Pluto, 4 billion miles away, smaller than our moon. But I couldn't do astrology without these things. But of course, the scientists and the astronomers say that this is rubbish. Go figure.
Maybe they want to change their perspective.
You may choose to think so. I couldn't possibly comment. But yes, I totally agree with you. Astronomy and astrology were once the same thing until the development of a telescope. Now, astronomy is the study of the movements of the planets and stars in the heavens, and astrology is the study of the effects of those movements. But you try and get an astronomer to admit that astrology has relevance. But I do have a couple of astronomers on my books as clients, and I have a couple of bishops. So, but these are the people who in public will go, no, it's rubbish.
I
But
think
these
there's
are,
a lot of people like that in positions of power.
of course. which leads me to assume that most of them are mad because they're not being honest to themselves.
Yeah, they're not being honest with themselves. Yeah. So, so what helps someone work consciously with their Chiron placement?
First thing I do to them is say, go and stroke a horse. Oh, I can't. I'm allergic to horses. Straight away. I say, okay, I'm not asking you to ride the horse. I'm asking you to lean across a stable door or just lean across a hedge and just pat them on the side of the nose. And they'll try, and then that'll do it. But so many people with difficult Chirons who think that they're allergic to horses, but actually they're scared of them because they're so big.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas people who have worked with Chiron or who have Chiron in really great aspect actually prefer the company of horses to humans. Horses are quite a shamanistic animal, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Other ways of working with Chiron. It's about accepting the worthless one. It's about giving yourself permission, saying that 2% of my nature is seriously dark, twisted, corrupt, sordid, and ugly. Yes, I have a shadow. But then you say to it, instead of trying to get rid of it, you say to the shadow, right, I'm going to give you a little dungeon at the core of my being where you can hide away and fester to your heart's content. And then every so often you can come out and play under controlled circumstances. At which point the shadow will go, hey, I'm wanted. I'm part of the team. And it will stop eating away at the rest of you trying to establish its position. It's about integration. None of us are as good as we'd like to be. We all have a dark side. Embrace it. I get so hacked off with all these so-called light workers. I want to slap them. Because if you can't deal with the dark, don't deal with the light. I'm a dark worker. I go into the dark and pull people out. So yeah, abandonment. It's a massive thing in today's world. Everyone feels abandoned in some
Well,
shape or form.
homelessness. I mean, I think if you look at homelessness, I
Yeah,
wonder how much of that is Chiron wounding.
it's a massive problem in your country, I know. Fortunately, we don't have such a big problem in my country. Although the standard of housing that we give the homeless is adequate at best. A few people are homeless by choice. A few. They're the nomads. But it's not just about having a home, it's about belonging, feeling wanted,
Mhm.
feeling that, no, wait a minute, I deserve to have a bit of love in my life.
Lovability, that
Yeah.
you're worthy of being loved.
Mm.
Yeah, I think
A
that
lot of
has a
people,
lot to do with healing and health and wellness.
yes.
Lovability factor.
But the risk of that is that once you start going, wait a minute, I deserve this, then you're starting to get on an ego trip. And a lot of people confuse love with sex, for example.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts falling apart.
Don't you think we're coming into an age when that can shift?
I do, because a lot more people are beginning to realize now that intimacy isn't just about sex. It's about hugs and cuddles and holding hands as much as anything else. Or maybe it's just because I'm getting older and more mature that I'm realizing this. But I'm on the inside looking out. I can't be that objective. But I hope it's because as a species, we are evolving. This comes back to where I started. We're at the biggest period of concentrated and compressed change in human history. This is the end of our apprenticeship. Within a very few years, 2 to 3 years, we would have reached that point, that nexus point, where we either scrape through that little birth canal hole and expand into a much wider form of consciousness, or we start the inevitable decline into extinction. When you and I don't know how old you are, but you're not quite as old as me, but you're not that far behind, I think.
I think I'm older than you, actually.
Well, I'm
How old are
70,
you?
so
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
70.
73.
Right, okay. When we were born, there was 2 billion people on this planet. There's now 8 plus. When we were kids, spirituality meant being dragged to Sunday school. And technology was this little thing on the wall with a wheel and a big clunky phone that you dialed. And if you were lucky, someone didn't have to put a jack plug in at the other end. And look how it's all escalated. And it's not going like that. It's going like that. And we're approaching prime vertical. And when something approaches prime vertical, it either collapses in on itself and then starts going back the other way, or it goes outside the parameters of the graph, which to me means a sudden expansion of consciousness, not to become telepathic, but to become far more sensual, sensitive, receptive, and aware. So that, for example, in my ideal world, in 3 or 4 years' time, no one's going to be able to walk into a room carrying a gun or a knife without everyone else going, that one, there's something wrong, there's something dark there.
Mhm.
They'll be able to read the energy of intent.
And discernment. That's what you're talking
Yes,
about, is being able
yes,
to discern the energy.
yes. That's my ideal world in a few years' time. And that will lead to a situation which a lot of people will find very threatening. The dissolution of national borders, probably some form of global currency, and a reunification of people by astrological moon signs rather than skin or religion.
Yeah, I think it'll be organic. What happens will be,
Yes.
and it will be rapid, but I feel it will be organic. It will be a natural process that unfolds.
And that's where people like you and I, who are not facing retirement politely, will be valued for our knowledge and wisdom, and will be able to advise the next generation up, who will probably be the people doing the hard work by that time, because we'll be too old. But, you know, I'm beginning to grow. I have this idea that middle age is around 44, halfway through one's life.
I think that will shift, though. Middle age will
Yeah,
shift.
yeah.
So
And
that
it's,
where we are right now will be more like middle age.
well, I think middle age stops at 59 at the second Saturn return.
Yeah.
And then 59 to 68 is what I see as the classic era, like a classic car. 68 to 76 is the veteran era. And 76 to 84 is the elder, as in tribal elder.
But
Once you're past 84,
I don't think people like getting old. So I
well,
think
once you're
that
84,
age will be pushed out. So the scientist, even with the research, says that humans, their natural lifespan should be 120. But I think what you mentioned earlier about eating processed food and different things, that actually breaks the body down so it can't repair and heal itself so that it can reach its full lifespan. So that's why I'm saying, the midway point will be around 60.
I don't want to live that long.
Why would you not want to live longer if you're healthy and productive, have a quality of life?
I mean, in the ideal
Think how
world,
many years it took you to get to the place where you are, with being able to navigate through life and have some semblance or understanding about, how to navigate in life. If you don't want to live that long, you don't have to, Steve.
I understand the reasoning behind it, but we live in a pretty crazy world.
Well, how about if we don't live in such a crazy world anymore?
You and I
Is more
remember what it
peace
was
and
like.
harmony.
Oh, that'd be amazing. You and I both remember as children, we were being told that the bomb's going to drop every day, and we've
And it
grown,
hasn't. It
and it
hasn't.
hasn't.
So that says something about our humanity and our, social
Yeah.
consciousness expanding. Because I think that's the thing that has needed to be expanded is our social awareness and being able to contain unity consciousness. I think we've been caught in duality, so
Mm.
that rather than having a polarity awareness where we have integration and come into wholeness, that's been blocked from us. And that idea has been proposed now. I mean, that idea really has been out there for a while about integrating the opposites. Carl Jung called that the work of the adept was to integrate the opposites.
My ideal dream is that we're evolving at such an accelerated rate that we're going to make a consciousness leap, which is going to bridge the dimensions. We're going to open up. The dimensional veil is getting thinner.
That's why I asked you earlier about us as multidimensional beings. I think that's what will come more into our awareness that expands everything.
From my limited understanding at this time of my life, the higher dimensions are where the souls live, and there is timeless time. Souls are eternal. And if we could somehow manage to merge our dimension with that one, then we would live forever. But then would the body last that long? I hear what you say
Well,
about the
yeah,
scientists.
I mean, these are new vistas, but I like that we're even having this conversation.
Yes,
I think it's an important conversation to have. I mean, we're the vistas for our humanity and being humans on the earth and having this physical experience that needs to be expanded and explored. I mean, it could be a
absolutely.
lot
And,
more fun and playful than what
yeah.
we've allowed to date.
And people like you and I at the moment, we're the ones throwing the fishing lines into the future. We're the ones suggesting these options without it being in the remit of people who are looking for the immortality gene because they never want to give up power.
Yeah, I think that like Yogananda, you just go into samadhi and decide to leave at some point. That's what I envision for humanity. I mean, if Yogananda did it, why can't the rest of us?
It would make sense to me that those who live the longest are those who are most at peace with themselves, who have a clean conscience and a good relationship with spirit and the divine, which kind of rules out 95% of the world leaders at this time. Just saying.
So I wanted to talk briefly about Chiron and Ceres. We've been talking about that pair, and they neared a conjunction this year, but then retrograded off, and then the pair will exactly conjunct. I believe it's the end of February 2026, near that Saturn Neptune conjunction 0 degrees Aries point. So, what do you think this spells? What is this? How is this speaking to us? How is this involved in this whole period of time?
The Chiron Ceres conjunction is indeed at the very end of February. But I draw your attention to the time around the Aries new moon of next year, when the sun and the moon and Mercury and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, and there's one other as well, and I can't think what it is at the moment, will all be in Aries.
And
It's a
when is
massive
that?
lineup.
When is the Aries new moon next year?
The Aries new moon will be on the 17th of April.
So I see that as a window of time then.
Me too. Me too.
rather than a specific, it's a window
Yeah.
of time that's opened.
Yeah. We're heading into a massive concentration of energy in one spot in the zodiac around that time. And it's like, if it's ever going to be portals opening, that's when it's going to be. I look forward to it. It's scary and it's exciting.
Well, I think the more you really clear yourself, you cleanse yourself and come into, as best you can, the union with your oversoul, your higher self, whatever you want to call that, so that all your dimensions of your being are lined up and in harmony. Then I think you'll be where you need to be, doing what you need to be doing.
I'm absolutely certain of that. I'm absolutely certain. Sometimes the best things I do are when I don't know what I'm going to say. I just open my mouth and the right words come out. Sometimes I just feel the urge. I think, okay, let's go down there, see what's down there. And I'm in the right place at the right time. Again, instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And
Instinct working with intuition.
yes, becoming more wholesome and integrated, the whole body. I trust my body.
Mm-hmm. Which a lot of people, I mean, you're saying that a lot of people don't. They've just given their physical well-being, their whole well-being over to somebody else. Like modern medicine really wants to have this domination and power thing, and I just that doesn't sit with me.
Nor me.
That doesn't feel right. I mean, I'm responsible for my health. The responsibility, my ability to respond is within me.
The word health, the origin of it comes from the Greek holos, from which we get the word holistic, integrated. Parallel to Ceres, not quite as big, so not quite round, is the asteroid Vesta, Hestia in the Greek, the goddess of the flame, the goddess of the hearth. And if you take the first H off, you get the word earth. And if you take the last H off, you get the word heart, heart of the earth. And I think the idea of us realizing that we all share one planet and we're all one species, yeah, different size, shape, color, but hey, we're still one species. And any aliens circling our Earth at the moment is going to be looking at us and going, we're not having anything to do with them. They're all crazy. They're just fighting each other all the time.
And I think that probably has been happening where we have been sort of, my feeling is that we've been sort of isolated from our galactic community, that they have kind of left us alone and not really made themselves, as maybe previous times in our history on this planet as humans. Maybe they were more here, and we were more in interaction with other galactic beings.
I believe this to be the case. I'm also choosing to believe that there's a whole range of community waiting for us, and that the time of breakthrough or breakdown is imminent. Dystopia or utopia. And the choice is ours. But it's not about money or sex or power or greed. It is about integration, love, and community.
I'm with you on that.
Can't think of a better way to leave it. I need to go and have some dinner.
I would love to hear something before we close about your docu-series journey. Do you mind sharing something?
The History of Western Astrology, an 11-part docu-series on the development of Western astrology from ancient Sumerian culture through to 10 years in the future. 3 parts completed. The first part will be released free of charge to the world, hopefully by Christmas of this year. The rest will be coming out next year. Each episode is going to be about 30 to 40 minutes long. Episode 1 is prehistory, the stone circles, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, the Egyptians. Episode 2 is Greek. 3 is Roman. 4 is the Arab culture from Rome right the way around the Mediterranean to Morocco. 5 is the Islamic Golden Age in Spain. 6 is the Renaissance. 7 is magical England, Elizabeth John D. Culpeper. 8 is the jumping of astrology to Europe, back to Europe and to the Americas. 9 is the return of astrology to Western Europe and the development of astrology up to the 1830s. 10 is the development of the outer planets up to 1930 properly. And 11 is the time of the computer age and 5 years into the future. And yeah, it's my life's work. I spent my life savings on it. I'm funding it. I'm narrating it. One of my best friends is directing and producing it. And we've already got 20 hours of footage from various different countries that we've recorded. So yeah, it's coming to your screen soon. And I'm turning down all the big companies. We want to do it independently.
You want to maintain control over, yeah.
Watch this space.
Okay.
It will all be on my website or on my YouTube channel, Steve Judd Astrology. It'll be getting out there soon.
Wonderful. So, Steve, thank you so much for your generosity.
Absolutely, KG. It's been great. It's been lovely. Let's do it again sometime in the future.
I was going to say I'd love to have you back. So,
please.
yes. So,
all right, my friend. Be well.
All right.
Take care. Lots of love, folks.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.